Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name is Christine, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a card using images from graphicstock.com and Vicki Boutin's Reactive Tissue.
Graphicstock has asked me to participate in their latest initiative, Creator to Creator. And typically, I love Graphicstock images, but I use a lot of the black and white images because I have a black and white printer. But I just wanted to show you that there are so many photos you can use as well. This photo here, just thinking if you did mixed media, you could print that off and even just cut it up and use it as bits of color on your projects. So even if you didn't want to use the photo in full, like this would be a great background. This starry sky here, you could, again, print it, cut it up, use it in collage. So there are so many opportunities for great projects using Graphicstock images. So I'll just go through a few more of the photos here. Graphicstock has like 350,000 images or something. It's just crazy. So there is definitely something for everyone. This wood grain, again, perfect, print it off, use it in collage. And so that's just a sampling. So now I'm going to show you what I've done using an image from graphicstock.com.
Typically, when I use images from graphicstock.com, I like to use foiling, and I run it through the laminator with the foil to get a foiled image. But I wanted to show you something different this time. So I took this floral vector background, and this is what it looks like. And you could use it even as a coloring sheet. But what I did is I printed it off on Distress watercolor cardstock. Now the good thing about Distress is one side is smooth, which is the side I printed on, and one side is bumpy. So I used the smooth side to print my image. Now I printed it on a laser printer. You cannot do this on an inkjet printer because when you put the water on, the inkjet ink will activate. So you need to do this on a laser printer so you can use water. Then I used Vicki Boutin's Reactive Tissue to color the background, and then I finished it off with some Nouveau dots. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So here is half of the sheet. Now I just want to point out, when I print, I hit fit to page, but I still get this little border around my sheet, and I just cut that off, and then I now have this size. So it's a little smaller than your typical A2 card. Now, here's the package to Vicki's Reactive Tissue, but once you use it, you can see it really sort of opens up, and you won't get it back, or at least I couldn't get it back in the package. I also like to rip up the tissue, and so I just put in a bag with all my pieces. So to use this tissue is really easy. All I'm going to do is spritz water onto my paper, and then I'm going to put down the tissue. And it's that easy. Now you want to make sure your water is nice and wet, or your card is nice and wet. Obviously the water is wet. So I sometimes will do just small areas at a time, making sure that the water doesn't dry, especially when I'm filming. We have the lights on, so water will tend to evaporate more. So I'm constantly adding a bit more water, and you can see down here already where that orange has started to bleed out there. Now you could fold this in half and only do half the card if you wanted. You didn't have to do the whole card, but I'm going to do the whole card. Just gives you a chance to see more of the color. Sometimes I will not put certain colors together, like blues beside oranges and stuff, but I find because the color is sort of light, it doesn't really affect it too much. I try to not have so square pieces. I find the more organic the pieces, the better it will look. But I don't always, sometimes you end up with a square piece on there. You just enjoy the time adding color. Now, of course, you don't have to do this crazy color. You know, I just like my color. But you could just do one sheet all the way across and color it all one color. Or you could do strips. Or you can cut out patterns. And whatever pattern you cut out, that's the color that will appear. You can punch these with die cuts or with punches and do circles and dots. There's so many options. I'm just showing you one way to color a whole background using it. Trying to see what colors have I not been using. Now, this is best to do on watercolor paper because of the amount of water you are using. Maybe on a mixed media paper, it might still be okay. I just always say if you have watercolor paper, do it on watercolor paper. If you do this on normal paper, it's just going to, the paper's just going to pill and you probably won't be happy with the result. Water there yet. Oh, I have that green. So it just takes a little time. Might not be very interesting watching me do this, but when you're actually doing it, it's like sort of fun, trying to decide where you want your colors. Ripping up tissue might bring you back. You might have done crafts similar to this when you were a child. I don't have much of this darker blue. This dark blue is actually really pretty. You can also go over it just to re-wet it a bit like that. We're almost done here. Maybe just put a yellow one. Ta-da! It's all covered. Okay, I'm going to put all this other tissue away in my big bag of tissue. I just don't want to get it wet because once it's wet, then you won't be able to use that piece. So I want to protect it. Okay, now you can let this dry, but of course we're going to heat dry it. I'm going to lift it up. You'll see that some of the colors come off there. And as we heat dry it, the little pieces will fly off. So you can see at the end there how all the pieces just sort of came off and the color had been transferred. And you can see the really cool background we get with this card. So I'm going to throw away these pieces. Once you've used them once, you just want to throw them away. The ink has been activated, or actually, if you are a mixed media person, save it all and use it in your collages. That would be really cool too. You can still use it for that. So now, since I'm making a card, I'm going to fold it in half. And I've got a bone folder. Still a little wet in places, but at this point, once you fold it in half, you can decide, where do I want it? I think I like this side of it. So this is going to be my good side. And so now I'm coming in with my Nouveau drops that I showed you previously. And I'm just going to start filling in some of these dots. And this just gives it another little, oops, of course I didn't test it first, but I was able to rub it off. Make sure you don't have air balls. And I'm just filling in some of these dots, and it just gives it another dimension. I'm using the pattern that's right in my design. There's all these little dots. That was one thing I liked about this pattern, was ways I can add to it. And I can switch up my color. Make sure this. Over here. Add some blue. Doesn't take long to add these dots. I just put it down until my dot is filled. And there's more down here. And you can just continue on till you're happy with the card. So I'll bring back in my finished cards. So this is what I made, part of the Creator to Creator series with Graphic Stock. And as I said, I used their vector flower background image, printed it out on watercolor paper, and then added the reactive tissue to color it. Now, if you want to try a project like this, click in the link in the description box below, and you can get a free 7-day trial of Graphic Stock images. And you can download lots of images that you can keep whether or not you subscribe or not. But a subscription isn't that much, and you can use these images for so many different art projects. So be sure to check out graphicstock.com.